Hi everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the claim and adjustment letter assignment that you folks are working on this week, and I'll just share with you some of the experiences I've had in the past having to deal with countless negative issues, unfortunately, both having to pass on bad news to others and receiving bad news from customers, for example. But one of the things that encourages me as I look at the discussion board where we're talking about negative messages is the fact that one theme I'm seeing is the importance of respect. And that's the message I left you with really on Friday with the message when I went through the assignment. The focus should be on respect, being respectful, but also being firm. And I like to see that you folks kind of have picked up on that same theme as we think about passing on negative information to others and receiving negative commentary from people as well. The importance of focusing on the positive first. I think that is very, very important. Whenever I'm delivering a bad message, let's say for example as a teacher, unfortunately I'm put in that role, folks, where I have to pass on bad news to people on a regular basis. I don't like doing that. I prefer being the nice guy. I like to have things going smoothly. I like to have everybody getting along harmoniously. Unfortunately, in our society, it just doesn't work that way. We know that. If we're too nice, if we just sit back and we don't do anything and we allow people to just go down their road and take advantage of us, that's exactly what happens. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that in many different ways. I think a lot of us, hopefully all of us, would rather approach life where we're getting along with everyone and we're seeking harmony and we want to be nice and make things work out for everybody. But we just know we've experienced way too many times where when we take that approach in certain cases, we know there are individuals who will take advantage of us, and we have to be tough. We have to be firm as well, and I don't like doing that when I'm dealing with other people or when I'm dealing with a negative circumstance. But it's the only way that issues get resolved, I've found, is by taking that firm, respectful, positive, professional approach towards dealing with those negative type circumstances. So if I have to pass on bad news to students, and I do on a regular basis, letting people know that they did not receive a good grade because they didn't meet the assignment criteria, they didn't write the required number of pages, they didn't put the required effort into the project, that is nothing personal. That's nothing against the individual. My responsibility as a teacher is to point out the issues that need to be addressed, why the person didn't earn the grade that maybe they desired, and I've received some criticism on that, and I understand it. That's part of the job. But the key is the focus is on being positive. The focus is on what's best for the student. And for example, when I pass on that type of information, usually it's early in the course, and what I see happen in many cases is, there's a couple choices that people can make. First of all, they can make the adjustment and work harder on future assignments. That's what I love to see, and I see that happen in many cases, where I'm able to then, give a good grade to a student because they worked extra hard on a project. That's one approach. That's the preferred approach. The other approach is people can become bitter and negative and quit in some cases, and I understand that as well, and I think it's unfortunate when it gets to that point. But the key is all of us have responsibilities as leaders to uphold the policies that our organizations have in place. And when I look back on my professional career as well, I think back to a time where in my company we had one particular steel supplier who ended up earning like 80% of the business, and they had done a great job for our company for many years, like a 20-year history between our company and theirs. But what happened is they started to become lackadaisical in their shipments to our plant. They were late with deliveries, or they would send product in that we could not make a part with. It was defective steel, and they would make excuses. They would blame the mill, for example, for not having material to them on time, or they would say that the material that they provided to us, well, that came from the mill, so therefore it's not their responsibility on the quality issues that we had to deal with, and it really caused our company to suffer. And there were some individuals at that time who did not want to take the appropriate action to hold the supplier accountable and responsible for providing a quality product on time on a consistent basis. And as a result, we would have piles of steel in our plant that we could not make into parts that we could ship to our customer. And there came a point in time where some of us said, enough is enough, we need to change this. And we went back to the supplier and we told them that they have to take back all of their rejected product, that they need to ship on time. If they don't do that, then we have to award the business to others. And that's unfortunately what we ended up having to do. We sent that message on to them. We were professional. We used the facts. We let them know that, hey, we could not afford to allow our business to suffer as a result of their performance. So they didn't make the necessary adjustment, and what we ended up doing is we pulled the contract from them, and we gave the contract to some other suppliers who did provide quality steel on time. And eventually that supplier came back into our plant at a later date, but we had to take that firm yet respectful approach with them. I've had to deal with that on the customer side as well, folks, where I had General Motors, for example, send me a letter telling us that they were going to make us pay for late shipments. And when I looked into the issue, the reason why there were late shipments is they would change their schedules without giving us enough notice. So on the day before a schedule was due, let's say we had 200 parts, and we had those 200 parts set aside. Well, the next day they would increase the schedule a couple hours before the truck would show up, and we did not have time to react to that. So I had to address those type of issues with this customer and let them know that no, we are not going to accept this debit here because you did not give us sufficient time to respond to your schedule changes. And if it's done in a respectful way, it's amazing how people accept that. You have to be firm, but the key is being respectful as well, and letting the customer know in this instance that it's their responsibility to provide us with the schedules on a consistent basis and not go above what the contractual obligations are without giving sufficient notice, so that we had time, for example, to set aside some additional resources, to work some overtime, to make a little bit more of a buffer. So those are the type of messages we need to send on to others, and I guess that's the message I'd like to send on to all of you with this claim letter and adjustment letter that you're working on. The key is to make sure and stick to the facts, folks, and realize that we're not making this personal, that it's something that we need to address, and we're doing it in a respectful manner, but we also expect to have some results as well. And then on the adjustment letter, if the claim is not warranted, we need to go back and let the individual know that, or company know that we are not going to accept this claim, that we are not going to accept the debit or the adjustment, but make sure that we have the facts straight. Go back to the contract, for example. What's been agreed upon? Has the customer done their due diligence as well, because customers are responsible for upholding their end of a contract too. So that's the message I'd like to send to all of you as you continue to work on this letter together, is focus on the positive. Yes, absolutely. Do that first, but we need to be respectful, yes, but we also have to, unfortunately, be firm. But as we're being firm, again, stick with the facts. Like, for example, one student pointed out how they had an issue at one of their companies, and there was a write-up on that, but the company stuck with the facts. They went right to company policy. They pointed out why that company policy was in place. They addressed the issue, but they did it in a positive and a professional manner, and that's the encouragement I send on to all of you as you have to deal with these issues here in our class, but then also you'll be dealing with this on a regular basis out there in the professional world as well. So enjoy this assignment, folks. I'm looking forward to reading your final letters later this week.